Are these robots taking human jobs? This massive robot named Foodly separates and packages noodles. It can also use its fork-like hands to pick up items like chopped veggies and fried chicken. The invention, made by a Japanese robot developer, was displayed at a technology exhibition in Tokyo in 2022. Here, Foodly is putting noodles on a conveyor belt with a scale. The belt weighs the noodles before packaging them. Supposedly, these robots cut costs and provide help as food manufacturers struggle with labor shortages. It also helps with social distancing. The price for one of these bad boys? About 30 million yen, or 250,000 US dollars. Also in 2022, a fleet of robots was unleashed at the Winter Olympics in Beijing, China. Food service was revamped to ensure social distancing and to reduce the number of people working the event. Instead of serving food cafeteria style, orders were placed and the food was delivered from above. Want a cocktail with lunch? A robot could mix, shake, and pour drinks in under 90 seconds. A human barback was on hand to help with finishing touches robots weren't able to do. Need delivery? This mini fridge-looking bot rolled meals right to the door. Once it showed up, you punch in a code to retrieve your order. And don't forget dessert. This adorable machine presents your soft serve through the window of its own personal disco. That same year, this robot from London painted human-like portraits with the help of her artificial intelligence technology-filled arm.
I have a lot of inspirations from different places. I'm deeply inspired by the visual arts, also literature. Dante, Orwell, Aldous Huxley.
Ada's been around since 2019, but with the help of this upgraded robotic arm, could use paintbrushes like human artists. To do so, the camera lens in her eyes take photos of the subject. It takes 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes to finish a portrait, and the results are pretty legit. So what does Ada think of her skills?
I think it depends on what is art. Is art supposed to be good? Or to create discussion? It's all about what the aim of the art is. To create a piece of art for the audience, to bring together the audience and the artists, who are always changing as well, to make us aware of the reality of the world.
Ada's work sells for big bucks too. In 2019, her artwork made over $1 million. So, is she the real deal?
Ada is art. Ada produces art. She's a confusion. She's unsettling. She's somehow problematic. There's something slightly wrong about having Ada as a robot artist, and that is the whole point of the project.
Are robot CEOs the future of the workplace?
Hello, I'm Mika, the world's first experimental AI CEO at Dictador.
In September of 2023, Mika worked as an experimental CEO of a company in Poland. Day-to-day tasks for Mika at the liquor company included choosing artists to design the brand's bottles.
I meticulously research, conduct background checks, and verify potential client lists, providing well-reasoned decisions to the board.
Mika has power, but not too much, which is probably a good idea.
There is no concern like artificial intelligence could hire or fire somebody. It's still the major decisions, significant decisions are still in human executive team hands.
In 2018, Italian and human pianist Roberto Proceda faced off against Teo Tronico, a robot musician. The test of music talent went down at a concert hall in Beijing. They each played work by Chopin, Liszt, and Beethoven, and were judged by audience applause. Proceda was at a disadvantage with 10 fingers because Teo Tronico had 53. Machine beat man in agility, accuracy, and duration categories, while humanity still triumphed in continuity and expression.
I think mistakes are a treasure. We have to be proud of our imperfections. We can learn from mistakes. I think we don't have to look for perfection by itself. We have to look for enjoying emotional meanings of what we do. Music is just sharing of emotions. And this, a robot will not understand yet.
From 2023, this orchestra didn't play unless this android robot, named Ever6, said so. It stood at the conductor's podium in Seoul, leading a performance by South Korea's national orchestra. First, it bowed to the audience. before it started waving its arms to control the tempo of the live show. The human conductor who led the performance alongside Ever6 said its moves were far more precise and much better than he had imagined. However, he said Ever6's critical weaknesses is that he can't listen. One audience member who studied traditional Korean music admitted the robot's moves were impeccable in keeping the rhythm, but lacked breath or the ability to keep the orchestra engaged collectively and instantly, which he said was essential. The rich sound of an orchestra, enhanced by the dramatic tenor of a cello, being played by a robot. In October of 2024, human musicians from Sweden's Malmö Symphony Orchestra were joined by a robotic cellist. In a world where many professions are concerned about their jobs being replaced by AI, the composer of the music says some in the symphony were not happy about the robot's presence.
I received some feedback, from some musicians that were a little bit frightened, or also from social media, people who are questioning it. But I think that's it's reasonable to question things. So I think that everyone is open to question it. Of course, I also questioning it.
The new music, titled Veer, was written with the inexhaustible mechanism of a robot in mind,
which of course make me look at the cello in another way, because suddenly there are a lot of ways to play the cellos that I didn't think about before, because the preconditions of the human anatomy. So suddenly the cello has become another instrument for me thanks to this robot.
Orchestral music, sometimes thought to be old and not modern, has gotten a technological update with the musical robots.
So even though we are using robotics, music still has the ability to kind of surprise.
In 2023, the NYPD added robots to its force.
Today, we are announcing 3 new policing technologies in New York City. The K5 autonomous security robot, the Spot Digidog robot, and the Star Chase GPS attachment system.
Robocops may seem like the stuff of science fiction.
Drop your weapons, you're under arrest.
But the use of robot technology in policing is fast becoming a reality, and that has some people concerned. Ryan Jenkins teaches philosophy at California Polytechnic State University and specializes in the ethics of emerging technologies. He told Inside Edition Digital that we're right to question how robots should be used.
I think that anytime we see a government using a new technology and subjecting their citizens to it, there's a lot of quite plausible, quite sensible reasons to be concerned. So the question is, what's it going to be like if I'm subjected to this? What happens if innocent people are subjected to these technologies?
He's clean.
What happens with the false positives we say, right? People who seem suspicious even though they've done nothing wrong. Is it going to make it easier or more common for law enforcement to scrutinize those kinds of people or to peer into their personal lives and so on? And I think that's a quite reasonable concern, that these new technologies not only make it easier and safer for police to apprehend criminals, but they also facilitate the kinds of abuses of power that law enforcement is often criticized for.
Jenkins says the machines aren't perfect, and that should give us pause.
Even though these technologies are supposed to be neutral, objective, impartial, the way that they're trained and developed and fine-tuned often ends up exacerbating burdens on the very same communities that have been historically marginalized by law enforcement and the government.
For people concerned with how robots will be used in law enforcement, Jenkins has 2 suggestions.
First, get informed. Seek out reputable, reliable sources of information about what these machines are, what they're capable of, and what the kinds of concerns are. It's not a utopia that we're talking about. It's not a dystopia, right? The truth is complicated. And secondly, I think that it's a good idea to get involved. It might not be very effective or feel very effective to write to your senator or something like that, but I bet your mayor or someone on the city council will care, or someone who works in community relations at your local law enforcement agency. Those people will listen.
People are still in charge. but people need to figure out what kind of power they want to invest in robots.
And I think the hard work comes in trying to draw a nuanced and principled line for where we want the police to avail themselves of certain technologies and where we think, you know what, this needs to remain the sole domain of human reasoning and human action, not machine guided or machine assisted.
For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Andrea Swindall.